Welcome back to the Combo Cabal. I am Bryant Cook, and today I'm here to talk about Modern Storm, primarily Gift Storm versus Twiddle Storm. I've uploaded videos with both decks recently, and I've received some questions like which is actually better? Do you really believe that Twiddle Storm is as good as you say it is? And that's what I'm going to uncover today. So I think in order to get down to that question, we should understand how the decks work, how they're different, and then ultimately why one is better than the other. So we're going to go over Gift Storm first, then we'll move to Twiddle, and then the pros and cons of each. So this is a pretty stock modern Gift Storm. This is actually what I would run if I was to run Gift Storm in a large event. So recently I've recorded with Rug Storm and then solved the equation, and this is both of those lists combined. I intentionally recorded a list with 4 solve the equation just to showcase the card, even though I thought that 4 wasn't the right number. So here we have 18 lands with no sleight of hand. With sleight of hand builds, I like running 17. So we're running 18 instead. We're running 3 solve the equation. But how this deck primarily works, so those are like the recent changes compared to those videos. But how this deck works is you either want to get Baral in play or Goblin Electromancer, and then you have 0 to 2 copies of Birgi that you can play. And from there, you cast ritual effects such as Desert Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, and Manamorphose to create mana. And when you have Baral, Goblin Electromancer, or Birgi in play, these ritual effects become more playable. Like they're better cards. So they're no longer 2 mana to make 1 mana, they're 1 mana to make 3 mana, which is comparable to Dark Ritual and Legacy. Manamorphose then becomes +1 mana draw card, which is significantly better than Desperate Ritual or Pyretic Ritual on its own. So those are how the deck makes mana. And from there, you cast Gifts and Given, ideally with one of your creatures in play and 3 mana floating. That's a deterministic win. From there, you get Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, Manamorphose, Past in Flames. No matter what the opponent gives you, you can flashback Past in Flames, replay all your rituals, cast Gifts and Given again, go get another pile that includes Grape Shot and win the game. So that's how this deck works. And you might have to cast some more spells in between, but that's the goal. And that's how this deck runs. And from there, you can run things like Remand and Repeal for additional interaction. Empty the Warrens is a card that you run to beat Graveyard Hate, that sort of thing. Then there's a variety of sideboard choices that you can play. This list has a few spicy ones like Ignite Memories and Ancient Grudge that aren't stock, but they play well with Solve the Equation and the Green Splash. But this is the deck. This is Gift Storm. It's been the Storm staple for the last 5 years since the banning of Gitaxian Probe or so. And I've played a lot of this deck. I went on an insane hot streak in 2018 with it. I'm very familiar with this deck. I love it. I have a completely Japanese foil. I'm a big fan. And then there's Twiddle Storm, which is a deck I've started playing recently. And at first I thought it was a meme, and my opinion has since changed. I actually think this deck has a lot of promise, and part of that was getting more familiar with the cards. I've been playing a lot of Pauper Twiddle Storm, which has really shown me the power behind the arcane spells, which would be Peer Through Depths, Psychic Puppetry, and Ideas Unbound. And then you also have Reach Through Mist, but this card isn't necessary. It's just sort of a nice addition. When you have your Lotus Field, it acts as a ritual because Psychic Puppetry and Reach are only 2 mana, so it actually creates a +1, which is kind of nice. But yeah. So the arcane spells are the big thing behind this list in conjunction with Lotus Field. How this deck makes mana is that you play Lotus Field on turn 3, and then you use effects like Twiddle, Dreamscript, and Psychic Puppetry to untap it. Well, with the arcane spells, you can keep on splicing Psychic Puppetry onto Peer Through Depths, Reach Through Mist, and Ideas Unbound, and that makes them free with your Lotus Field. And that's the goal, is you want all your spells to be free with Lotus Field, unless they're you're casting Dreamscripts, Twiddles to make up for the mana for like Serum Visions or Sleight of Hand, Wishclaw Talisman, that sort of thing. But the number one goal with this deck is that you want to get Lotus Field in play, which is why we're running Wishclaw Talisman. Talisman is another method of finding Lotus Field. But that's not all Wishclaw Talisman does. It also finds Underworld Breach. and Past in Flames, your Singleton Grape Shot, it just makes winning very, very easy. You don't have to worry as much about not finding the crucial spell. And I found myself using Underworld Breach just as much as I use Past in Flames, even though there's only one copy of Underworld Breach. The card's really powerful in this deck, especially when you can just keep on casting Ideas Abound over and over and over again. So that's how the main deck of Twiddle Storm works. And then in the sideboard, you actually get to run Ad Nauseam, which wasn't something I showcased in the initial list. The converted mana cost of this deck list is pretty low, and when I'm boarding in Ad Nauseam, I'm often boarding out the second copy of Past in Flames. So you'll have one card in your deck that costs more than 4 mana, or that costs more than 2 mana, and that's huge. It's like running Legacy Storm, and then you just need one blue mana floating, so that way you can cast Dreamscript or Twiddle to untap your Lotus Field and continue winning. I cast it last night from 16 life, drew 18 cards. It was remarkable. Really impressed with the power of Past in Flames in this deck. I also think that Twiddle Storm is a better Aria of Flame deck, just because you can cast it off of Lotus Field and then use a single mana to Twiddle. All of your spells in this deck, like for the most part, they cost 1, so you're able to cast them in higher volumes than Modern Storm, where you have more spells that cost 2. Yeah, so that's the difference here between Twiddle and Gift Storm. Is those are the two different decks. So what makes them different? Twiddle Storm, unlike Gift Storm, doesn't play any creatures at all. You're solely relying on Lotus Field. Lotus Field, obviously doesn't die to creature removal, but it is weak to things like Blood Moon. And Blood Moon isn't really that played. Like, if we look at the front page of MTG Goldfish right now, where are the Blood Moon decks? I'm not seeing any. I guess Gruul Midrange might have some in there. Yeah, okay, so like towards the bottom of the front page, you have one Blood Moon deck. Well, that's what this deck is weak against. You're weak to Blood Moons. Theoretically, if someone were to play like Alpine Moon in their sideboard, you could be a little bit weak to that. But for the most part, this deck dodges creature removal, which creates virtual card advantage. Let's say it again. Virtual card advantage. And by that, I mean you are blanking your opponent's card. So if they're drawing Fatal Push, that's a blank card. They essentially mulliganed. That's pretty good. Same thing with Lightning Bolt for the most part. If you are not dead, that is a dead card. And I know that's like not quite a clear explanation, but you don't care about their removal spells, which is the big thing. In order for Gift Storm to have a fast draw, you have to play a Baral or a Goblin Electromancer on turn 2, and then you can win on turn 3. Well, with Twiddle Storm, that's not the case. You can just play 2 lands in the first 2 turns of the game. On turn 3, float 2 mana, so tap your island, tap your Steam Vents or Watery Grave, float mana, play Lotus Field. From there, you'll use Twiddle and Dreamscript to untap this Lotus Field, and then start splicing Ideas Abound and Peer Through Depths with Psychic Puppetry until you hit your Wishclaw Talisman for Underworld Breach and just smooth sailing from there. Well, here you need that creature to stay alive, and you're just praying to untap unchecked. But once you do, you can cast your Ritual Manamorphose into Gifts floating 3. Is this more deterministic? Yes. Gift Storm is a more deterministic deck. It's just a fact. Once you have Gifts and Given with 3 mana floating, you win. But is it better? Right now, when we look at the modern metagame, Heliod Company is a very fast deck that gains Infinite Life. Well, both of these decks are a little bit weak to Infinite Life. I've played Thassa's Oracle in the sideboard of both decks, and it hasn't been great, if I'm being honest. Like, I haven't meaningfully cast it against Heliod Company. That said, Heliod Company is about a turn 3 to turn 4 deck that does play Path to Exile. Path to Exile interacts well against this version, but it's pretty embarrassing against Twiddle Storm. And in my opinion, the big difference between these two decks at the moment is that this deck dodges creature removal. The second thing is, Gift Storm is slower, because you're not relying on these living. Like, the first one's usually going to die and you try to win with the second one. That's the realistic plan. The idealistic plan is that your creatures always live, but that's not something that's going to happen. So with Twiddle Storm, I win more games on turn 3 than I've ever won with Gift Storm. This deck wins a lot of the time on turn 3 because you have turn 2 Wish Claw to search up your turn 3 Lotus Field. And then with that 1 mana left, so instead of floating 2 mana, you'll have 1 extra mana because you have to activate the Wish Claw Talisman. With that 1 extra mana, you have Dreamscript Twiddle to untap this and start your Arcane Splicing. Helia Company has a really, really difficult time racing to turn 3. I've gotten so comfortable with this list that I cut the Fastest Oracle. It's actually easier to draw your entire deck with this deck than it is with Gift Storm, because Underworld Breach and Ideas Unbound just make it very easy. Well, I've gotten so good at winning at turn 3 that I was just like, why am I playing this card? It's essentially dead. I could be playing it ad nauseum in my board. So I cut the Fastest Oracle because this deck consistently wins so quickly. And part of that is, the dodging the creature removal. Well, when you look at the second best deck in Modern, is it Blitz? It's all Lightning Bolts. Lightning Bolt. One of the most popular cards in Modern. Lightning Bolt. One more time. Lightning Bolt. Most popular card in Modern. Well, that doesn't affect this list until you're dead. So I've had a much easier time beating Is It Blitz with this deck, because they have a tough time racing at turn 3. It's possible, don't get me wrong, Is It Blitz can kill you on turn 3, but it's not easy for them. Especially if they think that they're holding up mana for Lightning Bolt for your creature. That doesn't exist. So with Rug Storm or Gift Storm, I feel like it's sort of a pipe dream to turn 3 them, because they're so likely to have the removal spell for your creature, because their deck is full of those effects. I mean, yeah, and then post board, I like siding out a Past in Flames for Aria, and Aria is super effective against them because a lot of these decks board in Surgical. Surgical blows out this deck because your Arias are much slower because your deck has more 2s in it. Look at all these 2s. They start up here, all the way down here. This deck is very top-end heavy. When you look at it, it's just a clunky deck. I mean, I like Gift Storm, but let's be honest with ourselves. It is not a lean deck. When you look at Twiddle Storm, it's super lean. Look at all these 1s. So your Arias are more effective than ever. And those are super good cards against those at Blitz. That said, when you look at some of these Blitz boards, there are a few copies of Alpine Moon. And Alpine Moon, pretty good against this Lotus Field card. Well, you do have Echoing Truth to bounce all their prowess creatures. I like boarding in the second as well, but it also bounces Alpine Moon. Alpine Moon is not in every list. Just a heads up, it's only in some. But it's something that you do have to consider. Aria is a great backdoor plan to beating Alpine Moon. There's been a few games so far where I just go, okay, I'm going to play my turn 1 Lotus Field through Alpine Moon. I don't have to sacrifice 2 lands anymore. Turn 2, Echoing Truth your Alpine Moon. Turn 3, untap and kill you. That's another thing you can do. And even if you don't have the Echoing Truth, you can just cast your Aria and then go to town. You don't need to twiddle a 3-mana land. Twiddle untapping itself is still a free storm spell for Aria of Flame. And by untapping itself, I mean untapping your land that you use to cast it. Aria is just a super powerful card in this strategy. And I've really been impressed. I've been playing a lot of Twiddle Storm over the last 3 weeks, and I'm just wondering why I haven't been playing it sooner, to be honest. It's just insanely powerful. And as we go down the list, Gen Shadow, triple Aria, obviously a good card against Shadow. This deck also doesn't die to Fatal Push, another benefit, or Lightning Bolt. And I think a secret thing that I learned about playing this deck came from Pauper. It's that you can use Psychic Puppetry with Reach Through Mist or Peer on your opponent's upkeep to tap down a land or a giant creature. Whenever people talk about Gift Storm versus Twiddle Storm, they like to mention how Gift Storm has Remand and Repeal. So you have 3 effects that interact with your opponent, on top of the obvious Grape Shot. They both have Grape Shot. Well, those are the cards that are mentioned, but no one ever mentions twiddling or dream scripting your opponent's creatures, tapping down your opponent's lands or creatures with Psychic Puppetry, splicing. This deck actually has more. Repeal is replaced by Echoing Truth, but then you have way more interaction for your opponent. So you can tap them down on those crucial upkeep turns. I've done it quite a bit just to buy an extra turn. I just want one more turn to, play Wish Claw, and then that makes me more deterministic for the next turn. It's beautiful. And I just didn't want that to go unnoticed. Another thing is that with Past in Flames in your deck, you only need 1 mana to win with Twiddle Storm. You need to be able to cast 1 Dreamscript or 1 Twiddle post Past in Flames. With Rug Storm, you need 2 mana floating, which means the games that you don't have your creatures, it's a lot more difficult to win with Past in Flames than it is with Twiddle Storm. That said, Past in Flames is not an easy card to win with when you don't have your Lotus Field. I get that. The entire strategy behind this deck is, well, what if you don't have your Lotus Field? Well, this deck runs 12 cantrips and 4 demonic tutors, 4 Wishclaw Talisman for this Lotus Field. And that's why you're able to find it more consistently. Previous versions of this deck that didn't run Wishclaw Talisman, I could get behind it. Your deck has to find Lotus Field. I played those versions. I didn't think that they were very good. Wishclaw Talisman has completely changed the game, at least in my opinion. And that is why I've really come around on this deck. Like, the consistency went through the roof with Wishclaw Talisman. Being able to play Talisman on turn 2 into turn 3 Lotus Field just ups this deck's probability by a ton. And yeah. And finding the one of Underworld Breach is so powerful. So I think I've described the differences between these decks pretty well so far. And then I went a little bit into the metagame. Well, when we start going down the list, another blue-red deck, Burn. These are nightmare matches for gifts. They're actually not that bad for Twiddle. Granted, Eidolon is still bad for this version. You do have the one of Echoing Truth and Wishclaw to find it. But you don't have to worry about the burn spells killing your creatures anymore, and that's just so nice. I've also had a few wins where I've played Underworld Breach and then just double grape shotted. That made it super easy. Like, untap your land, just win. Just dodging creature removal, I just want to emphasize, is so good. Yeah, I think I'm out of things to say, if I'm being honest. I feel like I might be forgetting some stuff, but I think I've covered a majority of what I wanted to say. So if you appreciated this content, please, please, please consider going to theepicstorm.com/shop. There you can get a Storm 28 baseball tee, a token pack, or a pint glass. Those are all great ways of supporting this Storm content. But you should also consider maybe doing a donation deck. You can do those at theepicstorm.com/donation decks. There's 3 tiers for you to sign up with. They're all fantastic in their own way. Make sure to read those details. You can also open up the description and follow any of our social media channels. I would highly recommend doing that. And I just want to say thank you for watching this. Let me know what you thought. I don't make a lot of this content. I'm just trying new things out. Hopefully you enjoy it. And if you do, ring that bell up top. Make sure that you're getting all the notifications for the channel. Subscribe. Show your appreciation. Hit that subscribe button. And like and comment. Let me know what you thought. Am I wrong? Feel free to tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me why, though. Don't just say you're wrong. Specifically say why. I think the big point of the decks was that Giftstorm had interaction. Twiddle actually has more interaction. And then Twiddle's faster. It doesn't add a creature removal. It's just beautiful. I can't believe how powerful and how consistent this deck is. If you haven't tried it, do that. Don't just say this deck is worse without trying it. Give it go run it through a league. It's fantastic. I'm just really, really impressed with this deck. I thought it was a meme, and now I just think it's better. So that's the whole point of this video, is I've been shocked at how great Twiddle Storm is. Lotus Field is a fantastic card, and people need to start respecting this deck. Yeah. So I think I've said what I have to say. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Have a great day. Keep storming. You're all beautiful. Take care, Combo Cabal. Hey, Bryant Cook here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, but also follow the social media channels down below. If you want to support this content directly, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/shop. And if you need a little bit of assistance with the Epic Storm to get to that next level, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/tutoring. Don't worry, there's more great content coming right up.